Our findings were sobering. I can tell you, having spent 40 years plus as a federal prosecutor, they were particularly sobering to me. A number of my colleagues who spent decades in the FBI themselves, they were sobering.
That is former special counsel John Durham detailing his investigation, or wrapping it up, into the alleged claims of the Trump campaign and Russia collusion that was investigated. Durham's report found that the FBI had no basis to launch an investigation into the Trump campaign. And again, this was years of an investigation, and you just heard the man behind the investigation say what he found was sobering.
Democrats grilling Durham during yesterday's hearing, while most Republicans applauded his efforts. With us now, Congressman Kevin Kiley, member of the House Judiciary Committee, which oversaw the hearing. Welcome today, sir, and thanks for taking the time. Talk to us about what you saw yesterday. Was anything surprising to you from what you heard from both House Republicans and Democrats?
Well, good morning. And, what was surprising, although perhaps it shouldn't have been, is that you had several members on the other side of the dais, especially from California, Representative Adam Schiff, Ted Lieu, Eric Swalwell, as well as the ranking member here, Mr. Nadler, who continue to sort of grasp for this discredited idea of collusion. And so, in their sort of never-ending, desire to prove that there was something there, they decided to go on the attack against Mr. Durham himself, who is someone who is nonpartisan, who has a distinguished career. Even they were forced to admit that before then going on and attacking him. But the thing is, it's not just Durham who has now disproven this idea, this conspiracy about collusion. Mr. Mueller did so as well in his report. And so what I focused on at the hearing was all of these statements that have been made over the years by the representatives I just named, saying, oh, we have all this evidence of collusion. We have an illegitimate president in the White House, and showing how this has been disproven not just by Mr. Durham, but by Mr. Mueller as well. And yet, despite all of this, they continue to cling to this long discredited idea. And I think that's very unfortunate, because it has done great damage to our country. The fact that this sort of conspiracy theory was allowed to propel what ultimately turned into a years-long investigation that hung a cloud over an entire presidential administration.
Sure, and going to your point, the ranking member, New York Democratic Congressman Jerry Nadler, said the Durham report and yesterday's testimony was an effort to mislead the American public. If those missed that moment, we have it. Here it is.
Republicans have planned this hearing and constructed an entire false narrative around this work of special counsel Durham in an effort to distract from the former president's legal troubles and mislead the American public.
Congressman, is that what that hearing was about yesterday?
Absolutely not. The hearing was about bringing accountability and, stopping the politicization of our federal government agencies that are supposed to be there to protect American citizens, but are all too often now targeting American citizens. And again, let's just step back. I mean, we had the Mueller report. This investigation spanned years. We had conducted a midterm election in 2018 with that investigation still hanging over the head of the administration. At the end of the day, he concluded, Robert Mueller, there was no collusion. So the reason for the investigation on Mr. Durham was to look into how is it that we had this investigation, this investigation into a presidential campaign and then presidential administration that violated people's civil liberties, that did unprecedented things. How was all of this allowed to happen? And Mr. Durham's conclusion was there was political influence and bias from the very beginning, which created the investigation. And then the investigation itself, for years, became fodder for partisan attacks. And so that's what we mean by the weaponization of the federal government, is it's being used for explicitly political ends.
Durham also pointing out the alleged bias within FBI agents, again, not the group overall, but specific ones, as we heard throughout the hearing. Final question for you, sir. There was some news made on the House floor, again, this plan to censure your fellow Congressman Adam Schiff, from California here, a Democrat, obviously. Schiff, very prominent throughout the whole investigation into alleged collusion. He's running for Senate, though. He says maybe this might boost his own Senate campaign. What's your read on the censorship vote?
Well, I mean, what we have here is a particularly egregious situation. It's not just that he said false things with respect to the made-up collusion narrative. A lot of people did that. A lot of people on the Judiciary Committee did that. What's important about his case and what's different about it is that he abused the position of trust. And so that's why Speaker McCarthy removed him from the House Intelligence Committee, is that he abused his position of trust and access to sensitive information to mislead the American public with very damaging consequences for all Americans. So that was the basis for that vote. It's a narrowly tailored resolution, and it's only the third time in the last, I believe, 40 years that a member of the House has been censured.
All right. We appreciate the time, Republican California Congressman Kevin Kiley. Thank you very much, Congressman.
You bet.